Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi Yevamos Kufyutes. We began a brand new parak, the 16th and actually the last parak in Maseches Yevamos. Says the Mishnah, Ha'isha sheholach ba'alo v'tzara solam dinas hayom. We have a woman here whose husband and also her tzara, the second wife in the family, traveled to a distant land. So she remains here and they're gone. And then she receives word about the fact that they tell her your husband passed away. Now, she had no children at the point of her husband's departure, which means that if things stay the way they are, meaning her husband doesn't acquire any new children by way of the tzara, for instance. So if things stay the way they are, she will have to fall a yibum, right? So they come back and tell her, your husband passed away. Loitinasi. She cannot just go marry a stranger. Why? Because the assumption is that she needs yibum. And likewise, she's stuck. She can't have yibum. She's in limbo. No marriage to a stranger, and likewise, no yibum to the brother. Why? Acha teda, until she investigates the matter and verifies whether perhaps her husband acquired a child. Shemu mu'beres hitzarasa. Maybe the tzara, the other wife, is expecting, and in that case, there is no yibum. So this isha has to wait around. She's in limbo. Continues the Mishnah, and this is the Seifa, the second part of the Mishnah, describes the opposite type of case. A case where an isha was not slated for yibum. This isha, right here, had a mother-in-law. Right? A mother-in-law of her husband's mother. Now, this mother-in-law traveled out. When she left town, there were no other brothers on the scene. It was just her husband without any other brothers. No yavam, no potential yavam to speak about. But her mother-in-law traveled out. Does she have to be concerned that perhaps her mother-in-law gave birth to another son who is now her yavam? She had a mother-in-law who traveled out. She does not need to worry about that possibility. So she had a chazaka. There was a presumption here that she has no chi of yibum. There are no brothers on the scene, and we don't have to be concerned that perhaps new children were introduced into the equation. However, let's say mother-in-law left town in a state of ibur, she was expecting. Taisus explains that disrupts the chazaka. There's some visible change which is shaking up the presumption. In that case, she has to be concerned that perhaps she gave birth to a boy who is now her yavam. Rabbi Shua Imer Einei Chesheshes, no need to worry. Why is that? Let's go over to Rashi on the right side here, about 1 or 2 lines down. Einei Chesheshes. Rabbi Shua disagrees. The Ikala member, we can say Shema Hipila. Number 1. Sure, she was expecting, but sometimes that results in an unsuccessful birth, a miscarriage. Maybe she was mapil. That's one tzad. Even if she did not miscarry, she carried a full-term child. Maybe it wasn't a boy. Shema Nekeva. It wasn't a Nekeva, in which case there's no yibam either. So Rabbi Shua maintains that since there are more chances than not that there is no valid yavam, don't worry about it. So we have 2 cases in the Mishnah. In the Reisha, she was slated for yibum. She had no children when her husband left town. She doesn't know what happened out there with the tzara. Maybe there was a child, maybe there wasn't. Did her status change? We don't know, so she's in limbo. in the Seifa, there was a chazaka of no Yibum, because there was no brother to speak about. The Mishnah says she need not be concerned about that possibility. We'll just leave things as is, status quo. Don't worry about the Yibum, unless she's mu'beres, and that's the machlekes in the Seifa. Ma'hi tzarasa. Let's go back to the beginning of the Mishnah. Her husband and Tzara left town. They came back and told her about her husband's death. Says the Mishnah, she's in limbo. No marriage, no Yibum, until she knows. What does she know? Acha teda, shema mu'beres hitzarasa. She has to confirm whether or not the tzara is mu'beres. My hitzarasa. What's the extra word? He. In front of the word tzara. The Mishnah is informing us, lahat tzara hu d'chayshinan. Sure. She has to go investigate what happened with the tzara that she knew about. It was Rachel here and Leah out of town. Figure out what happened to Leah. Aval tzara achriti lechashinan. But once she figures out what happened to Leah, she need not be concerned that perhaps her husband actually went ahead and married a third woman. She doesn't have to be concerned to that extent. As long as she verifies the status of the tzara, no children, okay. Now she knows what to do. Yes, children, she knows what to do. She doesn't have to be concerned that perhaps he married another Isha and had a child there. So what happens? Until she verifies the tzara's situation, she can't do anything. Marriage is asur, Yibum is asur. Now the Gemara will break it down. Let's take it apart. Why not marriage? Why not Yibum? I understand why Yibum is not an option. Very simple. The Dilma mi'abra, perhaps the tzara is mu'beres, in which case Yibum is cancelled. This fellow has a child. V'kapaga be'ishas achta raisa. In which case, if she does Yibum, she's getting involved with an erva, her husband's brother. You see, whatever the tzara has, irrelevant of gender, whether it's a zach or a nekeva, Yibum falls by the wayside, right? So if she's mu'beres, there's good reason to believe that there is a child there, whether it's zach or a nekeva, no Yibum. So that's understood. Elo loitina say amai. But what's wrong with allowing her to marry a stranger? Her husband died, right? So that's out. She's no longer Eishes Ish. And let's assume that she doesn't need Yibum. Ella loitinose amai. Why can't she just marry out? Halech achar roiv nashim. Let's follow the majority of women. Roiv nashim is abris v'yoldes. Typically, married woman becomes expectant and gives birth. It's just the way things happen. Ordinarily, the roiv says that her tzara out there gave birth. So why can't there be sufficient grounds for allowing this Isha here to remarry? Let's assume there's a child in the family. So again, Yibum no. Because for that same reason, and the Choshesh that the tzara had a child, for that same reason she can't have Yibum. But why isn't that enough reason to allow her to go marry somebody else? Leimer Rab Meir? Do you mean to say we're following Shittas Rab Meir? The Chayish L'Miyuto is concerned even about a minority, even about a small chance? He doesn't want to follow the Roiv? He's concerned that perhaps there was no child, and therefore she can't just go marry a stranger. Is that the reason for the halacha in the Mishnah? Is it Shittas Rab Meir and not the Rabbanon? That's a chiddush. No, afilu teim Rabbanon. Our Mishnah can be consistent even with Shittas Rabbanon, who typically would follow the roiv, the majority. There's a difference. What's the difference? Ki azli Rabbanon basaruba. When do the Chachamim follow the majority? That's only ruba the isei kaman. When it's a roiv, that's tangible, that's present, that's here in front of you. You find a piece of meat in the street, there are 9 stores in town selling kosher meat, one selling non-kosher meat, you assume it was purchased in the 9 over the 1. You follow the Rav because it's here, it's tangible. The Sanhedrin, or let's say the Sanhedrin, who conclude their vote, 12 against 11, 12 say he's innocent, 11 say he's guilty, so you follow the Rav. Avo Ruba delay say, come on, but if it's a Rav which is not really present, it's not in front of you, it's more like a presumption, it's not an actual, tangible factor present in front of you. In that case, perhaps we don't follow the Rav, just like, what's an example of the Lesa Kaman, like in our Mishnah. Rav, women do this and that. That's Lesa Kaman, that's more, it's more about human nature. It's more about the general flow of things. So perhaps, and that's not enough to allow us to follow the Rav. Is that the pshat? And that's why the Mishnah could be following even Shitas Rabbanan, who typically follow the Rav, but this is not your standard classic Rav. Is that so? Do we differentiate? No. Very katan uktana. Look, we have an example of the katan uktana. The Ruba Lesa Kamani. It's a classic case of Ruba Lesa Kamani. It's not here. It's more of a general interpretation of things. And still, va'azli Rabbanan basaruba chacham follow the Rav. In that case, asanya katan uktana lechotzin lemiyabmin. Divi Rabbi Meir. A katan or uktana cannot involve themselves in chalitza or yibum. That's Rabbi Meir Shita. Amrullah, the Rabbi Meir, the Chachamim respond to Rabbi Meir. Look, in terms of chalitza, we agree. Yafa Amarta. Well said. She'ein choltzin. Chalitza is not applicable to a katan or a ktana. You know why? It's a pasuk. Ish ksiva parsha. It says kacha ya'asa le'ish, right? Im lo yachbeitz ha'ish lakachas. The word ish is mentioned by chalitza. You need an adult. Umakshinan isha lish. Likewise, the isha has to be an adult. It's derived from the ish. So chalitza, we're in full agreement. Elamatam ein miyabin. What's wrong with the katan or ktana engaging in a yibum? Amar lehem Rabbi responds as follows: Katan shami yimatzi sris. You never know the katan who's not yet come of age, not yet of age to exhibit signs of maturity. You never know. Maybe he turns out to be a saris, a fellow with a severe internal hormonal imbalance who can't bear children, in which case he's not a candidate for yibum. It's not something that you can see now until later. So maybe he's a saris, even though how many kids are saris? A very small percentage, but we are choshesh for even a miut. Likewise, a ktana, shema timatzi islandess. She too might turn out to be an islandess and unfit for yibum. V'nimtzu pegim berva. If you involve them in yibum when they're not meant to have yibum, that's an erva, it's an isr. Whose shita is this? Rabbi Meir. He's choshesh l'miyut. For Rabbanan savri, Rabbanan disagree. Zilba saruba, follow the majority. Majority of whom? Ruba diktanim. V'raiv ketanim lav srisin. Most of them are not srisim. They're healthy children. Zilba sarev niktanis. Follow the raiv of the nikavas as well. V'raiv ketanis lav ailis ninu. Most girls are not islanders. We follow the raiv. And here we're speaking about a raiv which is not present. It's not in front of you. It's not isei kamon. It's human nature. It's lesser kamon. It's a presumption based on the way the world runs. Clearly, the Chachamim follow Rav even in this case. So now Mishnah as well. Why can't this Isha remarry? Rav Nashim out there, who are married, Amis Abres V'Yoldes. Let her assume that the Tzara out there had a child, in which case she's absolved from Yivum. El Machvarta, apparently the correct approach indeed is Mas Nisan Rabbi Meir. Here, our Mishnah follows Rabbi Meir, who's known to be choshesh even for a miut. And choshesh, maybe the tzar did not become expected, did not have a child. In which case, Rachel, who's right here, cannot just marry a stranger. She's a Yevamos. Okay, but Mayo Kimta, in accordance with whose shita did you establish our Mishnah? Who is it consistent with? Rabbi Meir, right? So the first halach in the Mishnah, where she parted from her husband in a state of chiyuv yibum, we leave that state intact unless you prove it otherwise. Unless you undo that state. Maybe things just stay the way it is. Maybe there were no children added to the family. She can't marry out. Amos safe. Okay, let's proceed to the next part of the Mishnah. We had the case, but in the reverse. She thought she will not have Yibum. There were no brothers to do Yibum. Question is, what happened to the mother-in-law out there? Did she perhaps bring another child into the world who was a brother, who was a potential Yavam? She had a mother-in-law who left town. Whereabouts unknown. Family situation unknown. Children unknown. Don't worry about it. Amai. 1 second. I thought we follow mute. Reb Meir is chayshish even from a small chance. In this case, there's a small chance that this mother-in-law had a baby boy who was a Yavam in waiting. True. Most likely, there was no boy born. Because keep in mind, many babies born are girls. They're not potential Yavams. Many are a small percentage are miscarriages. But a small percentage are healthy boys. That would be a potential Yavam for her. And tie her down. Reb Meir's chayshish even for a small percentage, even for a miyut. Why did the Mishnah say she's free to marry out? Amai, why? Halech achar reiv nashim. Let's follow the majority of women. V'roiv nashim mis abris v'yoldes. Most give birth. Miyut napilis. A small percentage miscarry. V'chal hayoldes. And of those who give birth to healthy children, it's typically half and half. Mechza zacharim or mechza nekevis. Okay? So now, let's put together the equation. Samayich miyuta. Let's connect the miyut, the mapilas of those miscarriages, of those women who miscarry, small percentage. Lemechza nekevis. Let's say miscarriages account for 10% of pregnancies. Okay? Let's just give a number, 10%. Of the remaining 90%, let's say it's 45% zacharim and 45% nekevis. So how many of the 100 are ineligible for Yivam? 45% nekevis can't be Yavam, right? And the 10% miscarriages. So let's connect the two numbers. We get a total of 55%. Samoyich miyuta de mapilas. Attach the 10% of the mapilas, lemechza nekevis, to the 50% nekevis. So you have more than 50% who have not produced a Yavam. Okay, so you have a minority, a small percentage, less than 50% of Zucharim. Let's be chayshish that perhaps that's what happened. How can she just go ignore Yibum? Teretz. Here it's different. She had a chazaka that she was potter. Until the mother-in-law left town, she was presumed potter from Yibum. Maybe because she had that chazaka. She can just marry out. That established chazaka allows her to continue maintaining that status. We don't have to reckon with the small chance of perhaps things changing. Is that the case? Well, then Reisha de'ichsek liyibum tiyavim. So let's go back to the first case in the Mishnah. Rachel remained behind while her husband Reuven and her counterpart Leah left town. At that point, there were no children in the family. At that point, she was slated for Yibum. She had a chazaka liyibum. Let her stick with that chazaka. How can the chance of a newborn, all that, how can that, how could that get in the way? Says the Gemara, Amar Nachman, Amar Rabbi Baravua. It's a big difference. Reisha de Isa Kuris. Chashashu. Big difference. You see, you're suggesting that in the Reisha, she should go for Yibum. Keep in mind, if there is no place for Yibum, if it's a mistaken Yibum, you're getting involved in Isa Kuris. We have to be concerned. We have to be chayshish that perhaps the Tzorah had a child. You're risking something really, really dangerous here. And that's why we require her to stay put. But Seifa the Isser Lav, Lo Chashashu. In the Seifa, it's merely a question of a Lav. Yevama marrying L'Shuk is just a Lav. So we say, okay, you had a Chazaka, keep it going. And she's mutter to marry out. Amar Rav, I don't understand. Michti, let's take a close look at this. It's not a question of creating a Gzeira. A new Issa de Rabbanan will say, okay, when it involves a Karas, we'll make a Gzeira. But when it involves a Lav, we don't make a new Gzeira. That's not the point here. You're getting her involved in a Suffolk Dairaisa. What difference does it make on what level the Isser is? Ha-Dairaisa, Va-Dairaisa, they're both possibly Isur Dairaisa. Mali Isser Karas. What's the difference if it's a mistaken Yibum which can lead to Isser Karas? Mali Isser Lav, or it's allowing the potential Yevama to marry out, which is Isser Lav. Why would you differentiate between the two things? They're both on the same playing field. They're both Isur Dairaisa. That can't be the pshat. That can't be the difference between the Reish and the Seif. That doesn't work. Elam Rav, I'll tell you a very simple pshat. True. In the Reish, there's a chazaka that she's a Yevama. In the Seifot, there's a chazaka that she's not a Yevama. But there's a big difference between the two. Let's take a close look at both circumstances. And you'll see we're dealing with two different types of equations. And that will explain the difference. You see, Reisha, true, in the Reisha we say, her husband left town, together with Yitzhara. At that point, no children, Chazaka liyivam. The Chazaka points to Yivam. Right? But there is a Roiv that opposes the Chazaka. Why? As we said before, most likely, the Yitzhara had a child. That's just the way things work. Any type of child would undo the Yibum, whether it's a Zachar or an Akeva. Whatever this fellow has absolves her from Yibum. He left behind a child. So Chazaka is Liyibum, true. But Veruba L'Shuk, the Rav says, no, she's free to marry out. There is no Yibum. Chazaka lo yadef kiruba. And the Chazaka, which says go to Liyibum, is not as strong as a Rav. Rav is stronger than the Chazaka. You know why? Chazaka is just an assumption, a presumption, an established track record. It was, it is. Leave it the way it was. Rav it's Rav. It's most likely. This is what's happening. Chances are this is the correct. So Rav is stronger than Chazaka. And therefore she can't just have Yibum, because the Rav opposes Yibum. Rav says he had a child from that son. But Chazaka doesn't match up to Rav, so there's no Yibum. Why can't she marry out? Oh, here comes the next part of the equation. Remember, chances are the Tzara had a healthy child. Right? So in the context of, let's say, 100, right? Let's look at the number 100. 45% would be a boy, 45% a girl. So the total of 90%. Chances that she had a healthy child. But there is 10% chance that there was a mapilis, unhealthy child, a miscarriage, which would send her liyibum, right? Which basically tells her don't marry out. And the 10% of the mapilis will be taken into account. Smoich lechazaka. So va'isi means bring the miut of the mapilis, that 10%, then add it to the chazaka. Chazaka was the one who said Yibum, meaning don't marry out. So in terms of the Isra to marry out, the Chazaka and the Miut are both saying the same thing. Right? The Chazaka said, well, no children, no marrying out. Yibum is not an option, as we explained, because the Roiv are saying no Yibum. So you have no Yibum, that's a fact. What about marrying out? Well, the Chazaka didn't allow it. Chazaka said no marrying out. And the Miut of the Mapilis, which is pointing to the possibility that perhaps there was no healthy child born and there is Yibum, basically means don't marry out. When that's put together with the Chazaka, Smoich l'Chazaka, added to the Chazaka, So you have on the one side you have a roiv, which says, chances are that Tzara had a healthy baby, go marry out. On the other side of the equation you have a chazaka, which says don't marry out. You have miut de mapiles, don't marry out. V'havali palgal palga. So now you have an equally balanced equation. It's like 50-50. Because the chazaka with the miut counteract the roiv. That explains the halacha. No marriage, no yivam. You're in limbo. That explains the reisha. In contrast to the seifa, where it's slightly different, the same type of factors, chazaka and roiv and miut, but they are arranged a bit differently, which lead to a different conclusion. Seifa, chazaka l'shuk. Look, her mother-in-law left town. At that point, there was no yavam on the scene. Right? Chazaka was l'shuk. The presumption was this isha will marry out upon her husband's death. V'ruba l'shuk. And likewise, the roiv points in the same direction that she can marry out. What do you mean? How does the roiv say she can marry out? Because if mother-in-law had a girl, no yivam. That's 45% of the 100. If she was mapil, another 10%, again, there's no yavam. So 55% are saying marry out. There's no yavam. So that gets added to the chazaka. You have a chazaka that says marry out. You have the roiv saying marry out. The only thing left is the miut of zachar. 45% chance that there was a zachar here. That's a miut. Vavali zachar miut to the miut. Not only is it a miut, he's opposed by two elements. He has a roiv against him, a roiv of nekevas and apilas together, and the chazaka that we had. So it's 2 against 1. He's overwhelmed. It's called miuta de miuta. It's a double miut. It's just a way of saying he's opposed by 2 factors. Miuta de miuta, like Chaysher Meir. Even a mayor is concerned about a small chance of miut, but not when it's opposed by 2 separate factors, such as in this case. So therefore, in the Seifa, we allow her to marry out. So bottom line is, we had a Mishnah with 2 cases. We had a Reisha, we had a Seifa. In the Reisha, Rachel stayed behind while her husband and Leah left town. She receives word that her husband passed away. Is the Tzara a mother? Did she give birth? We don't know. Until she finds that out, she cannot go for Yibum, nor can she marry a stranger. Well, she can't have Yibum, that's Pashut, because most likely that Tzara had a baby. Whether it's a Zach or an Akeva, which account for the overwhelming majority of possibilities. Once there's a child in the family, there is no Yibum. What about marrying L'shuk? Says the Gemara. She can't do that either. Because although the roiv would allow her to marry out, but the chazaka that she had doesn't allow. And likewise, the miut of Mapile says, well, the Tzara had no healthy child, you can't just marry out. It's like palga palga. It's an equal equation which says stay put. In the Seif, on the other hand, she was not slated for Yibam at that point, when her mother-in-law left town. There was no brother on the wings. In that case, she can marry out. Because she has 2 factors in her favor. One is the chazaka, and number 2, the roiv, which says, look, maybe she had a girl, maybe she was mapel, which accounts for the majority of cases. So you have a roiv and a chazaka that overwhelms the miut chance of a zachar being born and a yavam being created, in which case, she's free to marry out. Now, in the Reisha, she has to verify. She has to find out what happened to the tzara. Until then, lo tinasiv, lo tisiyavim, ulo ilam, forever? What does the Gemara mean? Rashi explains the Gemara. off to the left. Right here, off to the left. Ula oilam. Bitmia. It's posed as a question mark. Ula oilam. She's stuck forever. Tachleitz mimonavshach. V'tinase l'shuk. Just give her chalitza. You worried that she's a Yevamos? Give her chalitza and she can marry out. Back to the Gemara. Amar Zeiri, you're right. There is a defined time frame here. Amar Zeiri la'atzma shleisha chadoshim. On account of her own marriage with this fellow, she has to wait 3 months. That's a standard wait period between marriages to discern, to identify the child, etc. So you have to discern that she is or not, she is or isn't pregnant. That takes 3 months. L'chaverta tisha. B'shvil chaverta, on account of the tzara out there, she has to wait a full 9 months. Right? She hears that her husband died, let's say last week. She has to give it another 9 months to ensure that the tzara is not expecting, because when you do chalitza, at that point it's not valid. You have to wait for the child to be born, as we learned way back in the beginning. Daf Lamed Vav Rashi brings here. So she has to wait a full 9 months for that possibility. And at that point, once that time period is up, no more concerns. Give her chalitza. Either way, she's okay. If there was a child born, chalitza was unnecessary. If there was no child born, she got her chalitza. She's free to marry. That's Zeiri's approach. Rabbi Chanina Amar, he says no. La'atzmo shloisha. True. For her own needs, 3 months is enough. L'chaverta lo'ilam. But if she doesn't know what happened to the chaverta, to the tzara, she has to wait forever until she actually figures out what happened. Why? Do chalitza either way. Once you've done the 9 months, do chalitza. Just like Zeiri had proposed. What's wrong? Abaya bar Abin, Rabbi Chanina bar Abin, Amrit Havaya, they both explain like this. True. In terms of her Yibum obligations, you've addressed it. There's another concern. It might turn out that unbeknownst to her, she had her chalitza and her friend had a baby, which was only discovered 2 years down the road, in which case it will have been disclosed that she discovered that she never needed a chalitza. Right? If there's a child in the family, no chalitza. So she's not a chalutza. She can marry a kohen. In which case you'll require a cruise. You'll have to make an announcement. This lady can marry a kohen. Matzricha kruz l'kuna. Says the Gemara, what's wrong with that? Put an ad in the paper. V'litzricha. So require the announcement. What's wrong with that? The chashash is dilma ikadav b'chalitza. Perhaps a fellow will have witnessed the big event in town. He came for the chalitza, so he knows Rachel got chalitza, but then was not there when they retracted it. He wasn't there when they retracted it. And they'll say, they'll see her married to a kohen down the road. They'll say, what's going on? Because chalutza l'kohen. Look, a chalutza can marry a kohen. We're concerned about that possibility, and therefore we don't allow chalitza. And Zeiri disagrees. The Ritva Meiri explains, because look, you want to tie a woman down forever? That's not enough of a concern. The Gemara will ask a kasha. Tanan. We have this mission that we learned yesterday. Nitan ben dinasayam. This woman left town without any children. And she comes and tells us, look, I had a child out there. V'amr meis bni. V'achakach bali. My son died, then my husband. In which case, I still need you. Ne'menes. We take it as fact, because she's not changing her status. Meis bali. V'achakach bni. But if she reverses it, husband and then child died, in which case she does not need the Yibum, we can't believe it, because perhaps she's trying to get away from the Yavam. But we take it with a grain of salt. We have to give it some credence. We don't do Yibum, rather only Chalitza. Ask the Gemara, what do you mean? You never know. You never know, Maybe what she's saying is true. Maybe she really had a child. Right? Maybe Edom will come along tomorrow and say, yeah, she had a child. She was part of a chalitza. In which case, the chalitza was really worthless. In which case, we'll have to make that announcement. Tell everybody she's royal l'kohen. How can we allow ourselves such a situation? Amra Papa Begrusha was speaking about an Isha who was already a Grusha, in any case can't marry a Kohen, so no need to make that retraction. Rabbi Chia Bereda Ravuna Amar was speaking about a unique case. But Amar, she's claiming, Ani v'hu nechbeinu b'ma'ara, that myself and my husband, my child, were all hiding in a cave. There was nobody with us, no Adam there to see. In which case, there's no concern about anybody coming and testifying. In which case, we'll never have to retract the chalitza. Okay, so bottom line is, Mishnah says she has to verify whether the tzara had a baby. Until then, she's in limbo. How long? How long for? Zeiri says, at the most 9 months. Rabbi Chanina says, even that's not enough, because in case we do chalitza and then we have to retract it, that's trouble. Continues the Mishnah. We know that a tzara cannot testify about the other tzara. A Yevama cannot testify about the other Yevama, because there's dislike, there's competition, there's jealousy, etc. As we discussed. So you have shtei Yevamis. What does that mean? You have Reuven and Shimon, 2 brothers, each one with his wife. Reuven was married to Rachel, Shimon to Leah. Rachel and Leah are called Yevamis, right? Because they're married to each other's husbands' brothers. Okay? So why is there no ne'emanas? Because there's an animosity. There's some underlying feeling of apprehension that perhaps that woman will one day join my family and take over the show. So they're not ne'eman when they testify about each other. So shtei Yevamis, you have 2 Yevamis, Rachel and Leah. Zoi meres meis bali. Rachel says, my husband Reuven passed away. Zoi meres meis bali. Likewise, Leah claims her husband Shimon passed away. And of course, each couple here had no children. So Rachel needs Yibum to Shimon, and Leah needs Yibum to Reuven. Zu asura v'ipnei bala shel zu. Rachel can't marry a stranger because she has to wait for Shimon to come back. What do you mean? Shimon's dead. Who said he's dead? Leah. She's my Yevama. I can't trust her. V'zu asura v'ipnei bala shel zu. Likewise, Leah can't marry out. She has to wait for Yibum. Yibum from whom? From Reuven. What do you mean? Reuven was mace. Who said he was mace? Rachel. Rachel's my Yevama. She's not neman. She's neman for herself. You see, it's paradoxical because each Isha is neman for her own sake. Rachel can speak about her own husband dying, which allows her to remarry. And Leah can speak about her own husband. That's a ne'emanas we give to an Isha, because she's daika o mitzvah, right? But that's pertaining to herself. We sort of split the story. Pertaining to herself, yeah, but not pertaining to her counterpart. What happens if Lezu Edom, Rachel has 2 Edom, that Reuven died, Lezu ein Edom, and Leah has no Edom. Only her personal testimony. Here comes a really paradoxical result. As she yesh le'edom asura, the one that brings the Edom to support her account of her husband's death, asura, she cannot remarry. Why? Because she's the Yevama. She needs to wait for Shimon to come back. And she can't rely on Leah's testimony. Right? But Leah, who has no Edom regarding her own husband's Shimon's death, she's mutter to remarry. Because we take her word regarding her husband, and Yibum, there is no Yibum. What do you mean? Reuven. Well, Reuven is dead. How do you know? Because there were Edom that he died. So it's an ironic situation. Rachel, who has Edom, is us. Leah, who does not have Edom, is mutter. So none of them, Rachel or Leah, brought witnesses. They're both speaking from personal experience. Rachel says, my husband died. Likewise, Leah claims her husband died. Lezu banim, but Rachel had children. No Yivam there. Lezu ein banim. Leah had no children. She needs Yivam. As she yesh la banim muteres. This is a simple halacha. Rachel, who has her own children, doesn't need Yivam, is mutter to marry out because she's saying her husband died. And that's in it. It's enough. V'she'ein la banim asura. But Leah, who has no children, who's a potential Yevama, cannot marry out. She can't rely on Rachel's testimony as per Reuven's death. Continues the Mishnah. Nisyavnu. Now we have an interesting case. Let's say Rachel had been married to Reuven. She comes and says Reuven died. Leah had been married to Shimon. She comes and claims Shimon died. Aside from Reuben and Shimon, we had another two brothers on the scene, right here, present before us, ready to do the Yibum. And in fact, Rachel went over to Levi, and Leah went over to Yehuda. Perfectly perfect Yibum. Right? Nisiyavnu. Of course, it was based on the fact that we assumed Reuben's husband died because Rachel testified as such. We assumed that Leah's husband Shimon died because she testified as such. So they went ahead and had their Yibum. And now their Yevamos died. Levi and Yehuda both passed away. None of them can remarry. You know why? Rachel can't remarry because perhaps there's another Yavam on the wings. Maybe Shimon's around. Leah cannot remarry a stranger because she's still Yevama. To whom? Maybe Reuben's around. What do you mean? They're both dead. How do you know they're both dead? Leah cannot rely on Rachel's testimony. She's a Yevama. Rachel cannot rely on Leah's testimony that Shimon is no longer, because Leah's a Yevama. So now they're stuck. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, no. This is a little bit too far. Once we relied on their testimony with respect to enabling Yibum, look, what happened here? Rachel said, my husband Reuben died. That activated Yibum, that triggered Yibum. She went to Levi for Yibum. So once we rely on that information with respect to sending her to Levi for Yibum, it's been established that Reuben died. And now even Leah can benefit from that established halacha, despite the fact that it came about through Rachel's testimony. But now it's an established fact. Look, Rachel went Yibum because of that. So now it's an established fact in Bezdin, Reuben is died, is mace. And the same thing regarding Leah. Why did Leah go to Yehuda for Yibum? Because she testified about her husband Shimon's death. And we followed through on that testimony. We sent her to Yibum. It's become an established fact. And even Rachel could benefit from that. And now, once Levi and Yehuda are no longer pertinent, because they were Mesu after they did Yibum, so Rachel and Leah can just go marry out. Rest assured, there are no more brothers on the scene. Continues the Bryce. Tana, we learned in a Bryce. Here's another case. Luzu Edim Ubanim. Luzu Loy Edim Loy Banim. Again, Rachel married to Reuben. Leah married to Shimon. Rachel comes with two Edim that Reuben died. And she also has her children. No Yivam there. Luzu Loy Edim Loy Banim. Leah comes with a personal story that Shimon is no longer. And she has no children to speak of. In this case, they're both lucky. Shtei and Mutars, they're both mutter. They can both marry out. Why? Let's break it down. Rachel has Edim about Reuben's death. She's free to go. She has children. Free to go, no Yivam. Leah has personal account about Shimon's death, no Edim. She's personally testifying. That's okay for herself. And she also has no children. So theoretically, she wouldn't need Yibum. But Yibum to whom? To Reuben? There are Edim about his death. So everybody's free to go. Okay, now let's go back to the Mishnah. Nisiyavnu. The last case that the Mishnah spoke about, Rachel and Leah going for Yibum. Umeisu Yevamin, and those Yevamin passed away. Asuran Linasei. You still can't marry a stranger because they have to be concerned that perhaps the original husbands are around. Once we rely on that testimony with respect to activating the Yibum, it's an established known fact that Reuben and Shimon are here no longer, and therefore they're not part of the equation. Boy, Rabbi has an interesting shayla. My time with Rabbi Lezer, what is Rabbi Lezer's reason for allowing Rachel and Leah to marry out? Is it mishum dekasavar tzara meidel chaverta? Is it because he holds that even a tzara, a contemporary, like the Yevama here, or sort of tzares, right? Potential tzares, as we explained before. he holds that Tzara can testify on behalf of her friend. There is no manas. Now Tosfos asks a kasha. If that's so, then why did Rabbi Yehuda wait till this Mishnah here, to the last parak in Yevamos? He should have stated his opposition way back on the Yud Zayin over there with the Mishnah listing us the 5 nashim, including the tzaras and the yivimta. Rabbi Yehuda should have gotten up and said, "Well, I disagree. Tzara Yevamos nam." So Tosfos says, "Yeah, over there he agrees. He's moedim." But Tzara comes along and says, "I want you to know, that." That the other woman's, husband passed away. Let's say in the case of the Yevama, right? So you should know that my brother-in-law passed away. You're free to marry. That raises an eyebrow. Maybe you're just trying to ruin her life. But here, they're not trying to be made on the other one. Each one is meskaven lahoyd al atzmo. Rachel speaking about her own personal life, and Leah about her own personal life. It spills over to the other Isha. It helps the other Isha by default. But the primary purpose of her testimony is for herself. In this case, Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. It's not apparent that you're trying to undo the other person. You're trying to help yourself. So your contemporary can benefit from your edus as well. Perhaps that's Rabbi Yehuda's reason. That's one way to look at it. Or perhaps, generally speaking, Rabbi Yehuda perhaps agrees. There is no ne'emanis from one Yevam on the other. Here it's different. Here it's different. Why would you question her testimony? Look, she's going to ruin her own life. It pertains to her as well. She'll be impacted by her false testimony, if indeed it is false. So here we can trust her. Trust her to the extent that even the other woman can benefit from it. But what's the difference if it's the first shot or the second shot? If it's an absolute ne'emanis or only a circumstantial one? Very big difference. Lan subi litzora mekamedida. Can the tzara marry before her? So let's say we have Rachel and Leah, who are both tzaras. And Rachel comes back speaking about her husband's death. If tzara is believed, then let Leah marry, even before Rachel. If one tzara is to be believed, even if Rachel has not yet married herself, man sabinan l'tzara can marry after tzara. She's believed that Reuben died. But if the rationale here is that a person would not ruin their own life, well, then it depends. If Rachel herself remarries, which is an indication that she's speaking truthfully, otherwise she would be ruining her own life. Then, after she marries, which serves to confirm her story, Min Sabina Lo Tzara will marry after Tzara as well. But if Rachel herself has not yet married, so we have not yet experienced a confirmation of her testimony, Lo Min Sabina Lo, perhaps we won't allow the Tzara to remarry yet. We'll wait and see what happens with Rachel. What is the correct approach? Be'ez Hashem will continue tomorrow. Okay, so what did we learn in today's daf? We had a Mishnah with basically 2 cases. An Isha, whose husband and Tzara, when travel to a distant land, they come back and tell her about her husband's death. What does the Mishnah say? She can't remarry, she can't go liyibum until she figures out what's going on with the Tzara. Is there a child on the scene or not? In the Seifa, we have a case which is exactly the opposite. She thought there was no Yivam because there was no brother-in-law to speak of. Problem is, mother-in-law left town. Whereabouts unknown. Children unknown. In that case, we say, don't worry about any children, don't worry about any potential Yavam arriving on the scene, just go marry. And the Gemara explains it as follows. In the Reisha, there is a chazaka saying you can't marry out. There is a miut, 10% of cases, which says, mapiles, maybe it's a miscarriage. In which case there are no children. There is a chiyuv yibum. And that's in contrast to the Roi, which says, most likely there was a child born out there, either a zachar or a nekeva. So it's a Roi on the one hand against the chazaka and the miut on the other. It's pretty much an equal balance, 50-50. She has to stay put. In the Seifa, she's mutter to marry out because there we have two factors in her favor. Chazaka says she's mutter, and the Roi says she's mutter. Maybe it's a nekeva, maybe she miscarried. In either case, there is no valid yavam. So you have the chazaka and the Roi against the miut of scharim, and therefore she can marry out. However, as the Mishnah concludes, if Chamaisa was mu'beres on the way out, Tanakama maintains, now there's concern, Taisus explains, because the chazaka got rattled. Rabbi Yeshua says, even in this case, don't worry about it, because most likely there is no chiyuv yibum. Either she gave birth to a nekeva or mapilais, so then there's no chiyuv yibum. Until she verifies the fact, no marriage. For how long? Ziri says 9 months, that's the max. Rabbi Chanina says, Lo'ilam. The Gemara explains, because you might end up doing the chalitza and having to retract it, which is problematic. But in a case where that's not applicable, let's say she's a grusha, anyways not marrying a kohen, or she says she was in a cave, there's no concern about people seeing and knowing. That was in the other case there when she's being made, so she was in the cave. There's no concern about retraction. In this case, all agree a chalitza can be done. Then we have the Mishnah with the Yevamos, who are not Neman, vis-a-vis each other, whereas according to Rabbi Lezer, there is an Emanus, and the Gemara Shaila how to understand Rabbi Lezer. Is it because he believes the tzara, or is it because Anisha would not ruin her own life in order to ruin her friends? And we left that sort of in the middle to be verified. Be'ezus Hashem in tomorrow's shir. All the best to you, and looking forward to getting together again tomorrow. Tzlacha Rabbah.